That buttercream is so good. And that cake, it's so spicy from the chai. And you can taste the maple syrup and you can taste the pecans. Hello bakers, welcome to the fancy Cakery. Welcome to my outside. I'm outside because it is so amazing. Of course this is Texas, I should be used to this by now. But yesterday was 90 degrees. Now today it is cool. My short sleeve shirt is a little too short if I was to stay out here. And it is windy and the weather's changing. I don't know what's coming, but something is coming. It is fall today. It is absolutely fall. And you can feel the little coolness in the air. It's a little actually cooler than I like it, but I know this is just the beginning of what's to come. And if you want to be a special shout out subscriber, comment on my video, subscribe and like my channel, and you may get a shout out. The inspiration for this week's recipe comes from when me and my cousin last December went to Dahlonega, Georgia. And when we were driving from there to Atlanta, we had stopped at a really quaint Indian restaurant. And the food was great, I'm sure. I don't even remember what we ate, but I remember the tea. We had creamy, spicy, hot, delicious chai. So I wanted to make a chai cake. I made my own chai spice, which came with its own set of challenges that I am so excited to show you. I actually did something that I didn't know I can do, but now I know. And it is the inspiration for this week's recipe. We are going to cover our cake with a maple praline buttercream. And it is something different. I've never done it before, but I'm gonna do it today. So please come into the kitchen with me. It's kind of getting too chilly out here, so I'm gonna have to go inside. So let's get baking. Okay, so I have creamed the butter and the sugar, and it is nice and creamy. And now it's time to add the eggs one at a time. So I have my eggs separated like I always do. And we're gonna put it on low and we're gonna add our eggs one at a time. So now that all our eggs are in, we're gonna cut it up and let it whip. So we have creamed our butter and our sugar and added our eggs one by one, and we have whipped it until it is nice and fluffy. And it is time now to add our flour mixture, our flour, baking soda, baking powder. We are now gonna add our chai spice. And I have made my own chai spice, and I have the link down in the description box below. I have the recipe written out. And I just want to tell you, I went through my spices. I literally went through my spices in my cupboard, and I had all my spices. I think I had all my spices, but I did not. I was missing ground allspice. I don't know why or what happened. So, gosh, now at the last minute I gotta go run to the store and get some ground allspice. But you know, I'm from the Bahamas, so I had a lot of my whole allspice for my sauce because I keep it on hand all the time because you can never have too much whole allspice when you're making sauce. So I said, geesh, if only I had a spice blender or a grinder, or a coffee grinder, and I could grind this up. So I said, well, I have my NutriBullet, and I don't even have the current NutriBullet. I have like the 5-year-old, back in the day, first NutriBullet. And I said, I'm gonna try it. And I did. I put it in the NutriBullet, and I promise you, there's ground allspice. It ground it up like you wouldn't believe. So if you've never tried it, I never knew that a NutriBullet could ground spices, but it did it. And now I had my ground allspice. So I put all my other spices into my mixture, and I mixed it all up. And there's cardamom and ginger and nutmeg and cinnamon and cloves. And I don't think I missed anything. And then the allspice. And so I'm gonna use a tablespoon and a half of this, and I'm gonna put this into my flour. And if I go a little over, I'm okay. I'm not gonna kill myself measuring that. it smells. If you have never had chai tea, you don't know what you're missing. It is delicious, and especially if you are somebody that are used to the British way of putting milk in your tea. There's nothing like chai, a nice creamy chai tea. If you don't have all of the spices, and you are not going to go buy in all 5 or 6 of those spices just to make this spice, which you probably only use once just to try this recipe, or you're just not going to do it. My other recommendation is to get a tea bag, a chai tea bag, and I always add milk to my cake. I would warm the milk. This is what I would do. This was going to be my next step if I didn't find a recipe that I think is close enough. And I will just take the chai tea bag in the warm milk and I would steep it, and not one. I would just test it out. I'd start with maybe 5, steep it, and then taste it and see if it's very spicy. And that's what I would do. And that would be a cheat. And whatever you have left over, you make tea out of. Delicious, delicious tea. You have to try it. And we are going to add this in to our butter, sugar, and eggs, a little bit at a time, alternating with our milk, which my milk is always half evaporated milk, half water. And that's what I use. And then that'll be our cake. Let's do that. And like always, we're not going to overbeat once we add our flour. So as soon as all the ingredients are in, we are just going to scrape down and make sure we get all the stuff to the bottom and the sides. And then we're going to give it a really good mix. And then we're going to be ready to put these into our cake pans. We're ready to put our batter into our cake pans. And I just want to share something with you. My son's girlfriend is here with me. I just happened to mention, Alexis, you like tea? And she said, oh yeah. So I was like, you ever had chai? And she's like, no. And then I was beginning to think. My thoughts were going, my wheels were spinning in my head. And I was like, hold on. This girl from Texas. Alexis, you ever had hot tea? No. And she said that like, she was confused. Like, hot tea? What is that? And I forgot. She's from Texas. They only know about sweet tea. So the Caribbean in me is like, you don't know about hot tea? Like, we grew up on hot tea. We drank hot tea 5, 7 times a day, even in the summer, 10 times a day in the winter. Like, no, there's no way you could be anybody in the Caribbean and not have tea. Like, you were raised on tea. So Alexis has never had hot tea. So at some point I'm going to have to make her some hot chai. Creamy, hot, sweet chai. And she's going to drink it. She is. Right, Alexis?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, she is.
Yes.
Yes. And we're just going to try to distribute this evenly. And I would say 3/4, no more. No more than 3/4. Because then it will be it'll overflow and it'll be too much. And it won't cook right. And I know I'm supposed to buy a scale. At some point, I'm going to buy a scale and I'm going to measure and I'm going to have everything equal in all the pans. I'm going to do that one day. Promise? Promise you, I'm going to do it. But for now, this is my scale. Yeah, that feels about right. That's my scale. I've been doing this for years. And that's my scale. Sometimes we mess up a little bit, but it's okay. You'll fix it. You'll figure it out. And whatever you got left, which is only a little bit, you make cupcakes out of, and that's for your little minions. You say, here you go, and you put some frosting on it, and that's for your minions. So we're gonna pop this in the oven at 350, and we'll be back to make our maple praline buttercream. And we are are getting started on doing our frosting, our maple praline frosting, and we have whipped our butter for a few minutes now, and we're gonna start little by little adding our sugar, our powdered sugar. And now we are gonna go ahead and we are adding some vanilla bean paste. We're gonna add 2 teaspoons. This is rich and so full of all of those specks of vanilla. Gives it a really good flavor. So now we're going to add our maple syrup. Okay, so I went ahead and added another half cup of maple syrup and 3 tablespoons of milk. And I think this is the consistency that I like, so I'm just gonna whip it until it's nice and fluffy. Okay, so now we have ground some pecans. How do you say it? Do you say pecans or pecans? Please let me know, because I really don't know how you say it. And then we're gonna give it a mix. Alright, so we have whipped this now, and it is ready to frost our cake. Okay, so we have our icing here, and we have our cakes ready, and we are ready to put this together. So let's go. So we're going to go ahead and put that on our cake tray. We're just going to get a big wallop. And when I did put the pecans, it did make the icing a little softer, and I was thinking it would have made it a little firmer, but I think I have to remember that pecans have its own natural oils in it, so I'll just give the cake moisture. I have to try this. It kind of looks to me like, what is that cake called? A hummingbird cake? Which I never really knew what was in that. It looks very similar. Alright, so we're just going to, this icing is a little softer than I wanted, and I think it'll be perfect on a sheet cake where you don't have to worry about trying to get it to stand up on the sides, but the taste is there. I mean, I actually think it's just a little softer than what I was thinking to do with it. But I don't know if I would change anything because it is so delicious. Okay, so we're just gonna do our swirlies. It's gonna fall off. Put it in the fridge immediately, you'll be fine. And then I'm going to take, before it totally falls off, I'm going to take some of my chai spice, and I'm going to sprinkle it, make it all pretty, give it that flavor. Then we're going to take some of our pecans, just put it just like that. And I promise you, you are not going to want to let this season go by without trying this. This was a definite one-of-a-kind creation that I promise I am going to make again because this was a winner. I have came up with something that is definitely a keeper, so you have to try this. So this is the part that I like the most. This is the part where I get to taste it, cut into it, and it's my favorite part. Ooh. All right. Hopefully I don't make too much of a mess. This is really good. So look for that pink frosting below. Click it, subscribe, because we got a lot more recipes coming. And continue baking with me in the Fancy Cakery.